I can't believe we're here again.
We are.
It's so lovely always to chat with you, but without Ellie this time.
Right, without Ellie this time. Mind you, I really liked having Ellie there. I got to know Ellie a little bit, but this is our show.
This is our show, and I'm really, really excited to have you, Shari. You know how grateful I am for you in my life
Well,
and for the beautiful book that you helped me write. I don't know if people know you were the editor of my book.
well, I would like to say, and seriously, I'm not just saying it, but you really wrote that book. And the operative word there really is just like I was there in the background, really helping make sure that your dream of finishing it, when you wanted to finish it, came out. And I don't think anyone knows how motivated you were because you had so much to share in that book that was just like it was pouring out of you. So it was really a fun journey with you.
Well, I have to say that our synergy was very good, and I believe that our synergy was so good because you read me and you respected my process, my voice, and you gave me as much as I needed. And I think for people that, not to, I didn't mean to promote you as an editor, but if you're thinking about writing a book, you might be asking yourself, is this person going to write for me? Am I going to record and say, or am I going to write? They're going to edit. You will accommodate to what the person needs, right?
And I
And
do.
that, and that's
Now that you just brought it up, I'll share because I'm really knee deep in a book with a client right now. And every time she comes to me and says, like, I'm so ready for it to be done, but you keep finding things. And I'm like, well, I've never written a book this process before where someone gave me all little journal entries, like pieces of a puzzle that were all separate.
wow.
They didn't come together at all. And she knows this and we laugh about it all the time. I thought it would be so easy to just like take all the puzzle pieces and make them fit and format them into a book. So all to say, it wasn't that easy. And we worked together a lot more than we thought we would. And now she's a friend of mine. So,
I love that.
you know,
Yeah, that that says a lot. But so I wanted to share with you a concept that I just heard from a Kabbalist.
Mhm.
We always, in the personal development work, in the healing work, we always say, well, many of the traumas, the limiting beliefs, the coping mechanisms that I have today are because the way I grew up. Not to blame our parents, but we went through certain experiences, and that created part, at least what's related to this life, part of the issues that I need to resolve today. So it's almost saying, well, I am the way I am, or I have the baggage that I need to work on because of the parents that I had or the upbringing that I had. But what I heard from a Kabbalist was so beautiful. He says, you don't have the issues you have because of your parents. You don't have these traumas because of your parents. You have your parents because of your traumas.
I'm really sorry, but I really like that.
So I want to explain this more because I found this to be so brilliant.
Yeah, I like it.
Meaning that basically the soul came with a baggage to work on, right? Patterns to be resolved, contracts that were made that you're going to work in this life. And you kind of, as the soul said, which kind of parents are going to help me bring those issues up so I can resolve them? So we choose the parents that we need because of the karma we have, and not we have these traumas and karmas because of the parents we had.
I'm just my every cell in my body is smiling in acknowledgement of how true I think that is. So, I don't think anyone who has not taken some kind of healing journey inward, looking at themselves and trying to quote unquote fix themselves, I don't think anyone who's not done some of that work will understand what you're saying. And I say that because if I would have heard this concept of, uh, our karmic traumas and the parents we choose so that we can resolve those issues in our life. Had I heard that 20 years ago or 30 years ago, I would have closed the door on your face so fast and go, this girl is what? 20, 30 years later, having really committed full time to my inner journey and my work, I know it's true. I mean, I just know it's true. And no, you won't find that in a scientific book. You won't find that in a research lab. You know where you find that? You find that in your own personal journey.
Absolutely. Which basically means that every person that is in my life, including the parents I chose, are there to assist me in my own inner journey, or in the Kabbalistic word tikkun, which means to repair, right? To resolve when I need to resolve so I can grow spiritually and earn more light and more blessings, including, you know what I'm going to say, not just our parents. Who else is there to do that?
Our spouses.
Our spouses. That's right.
And I would add, like, I don't know if our children are supposed to be there for us in that way, but I've done
Every
so
person, every circumstance, every situation was perfectly designed for us to do our work.
So there's a thing that people say, I don't know if it's biblical or not, everything for a reason
Mm,
and everyone for a reason. Like it's not a coincidence, but it always shows up. It's there for a reason. I think those reasons were predestined. I don't
absolutely.
just show, I think they were already organized by some divine power. And that if we are open, they're there for us. Like I'm sure there's many more doors for us that we just didn't see that could lead us even deeper or higher into the life we're meant to have, and more meaningfulness in our relationships as well.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Always, I'm an open book.
So you're going to be married for 35 years? Wow. Really, wow. I say wow because I realize that part of my mission is to make people believe in marriage again, or make marriage look good. So you're going to be married for 35 years. And this understanding that the husband you have was carefully designed also for you to build together, but for part of that is you doing your inner work. So he's going to trigger you where you need to be triggered so you can do your work. Tell me more about that. In what ways do you acknowledge and even are grateful to him for having shown you what you need to work?
I'm going to answer that question indirectly by starting to say that if I like to reflect on all the 35 years. I like to bring forward the lessons and the things that made me, I think, a better person in my own life and with other people. I like to bring them forward. And that question causes me to reflect on easy it is in the early years of marriage when you think, oh, I love this person and it's all going to work and it's fine and all, and then you get so upset and so angry at each other and you just give up. And that's the thing, is that I think it's really important for us to look at our spouses and remind ourselves that we chose them. We're together so that we can grow, not so that we can just say, consider it disposable and just walk away from each other. That's not where the work is. And I don't know, for some reason, I really believe that doing the work with my husband, whose name is Nick, that if we're both doing that together, then something good has to come from it. And so with that faith and that belief and that kind of like modus operandi is that we're going to make each other very important and we're going to do whatever
I like that
to not hurt each other. And even more than that, we are going to use each other to become better, not just as a couple, but as individuals. And as the years went by, we made sure to do that work. And yeah, that wasn't always pretty and it wasn't always fun, but it was not an option for us not to do that work. So I guess I did marry in some sense. I guess he's a soulmate because Nick over the years will say how grateful he is for how he's grown through our marriage. And that's a credit to me and that's a credit to us. And I do the same. I mean, it's deep. It kind of has to be
Give me
deep.
an example of a trigger that, years ago.
Okay. No, easy. Of course.
Okay. What did he teach you? What did you resolve through him triggering you?
Well, the trigger is that he would, I always felt that the way I was doing things was not good enough or being judged. Little everyday things, like if he would ask me to hold a picture frame so he could hammer in a nail to hang it, I got all these instructions, like I was mansplained all the time for every little thing. And I really didn't like that, because I came from a house where I was told exactly how, when, what to do. So I needed the independence to just feel confident that I can do things properly without like the judgment. So I was always triggered. And really and truly, at the end of many days, I would go, you can't do that to me. And that's it. And I'll explain to you why. I said, well, you think you're being helpful. So it was really, they always say, approach an issue from a me point of view. I was very good at that. And that helped a lot.
You knew how to do that from the beginning?
Always knew how to do that.
That's incredible. Where did you learn that? Or maybe you learn at the opposite.
Well, the truth is, I didn't like not receiving information from that point of view. So I knew right away that I wasn't going to repeat that. I'm all about not repeating patterns that made me feel icky. I'm very aware that if something made me feel uncomfortable or angry or diminished in any way, or, not worth or guilty, that I would use different language. From a very young age, I knew how to do that.
So your parents were great teachers by showing you what you don't want to do.
Yeah, that's how I learned.
That's incredible. Through contrast.
How I learned.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So Nick was lucky that he received that from me, because after let's say fast forward 35 years, he knows how to do that very well, so that we get along, because he knows that's what I need to receive from him, is a different way of saying things. So now, like if we're hanging a picture, like either he'll go back, let's say to his default, and I'll laugh and I'll go, yeah, you know how that makes me feel, right, Nick? And then we end up in laughter together, because we just accept that's how he does it, and I don't receive it. Oh, right, here we are again. And it's fun, because like I'm not hurt by it, and he can change.
Because you're not triggered anymore. It's fun because you've done your work. Exactly. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fun.
Exactly. And he's open to hearing it also, though, because I used to lash out at him. So now that doesn't happen. But, we don't have, thankfully, all the most important things in life we've always agreed on. Maybe how we get there is a little different, but our priorities are really well lined up. What matters to him equally matters to me. I don't know if it was always like that, but it is.
Yeah, that's important. We always talk about having a common vision and making sure that this vision is wide enough that it can include what each one of you want and what you want also together. And sometimes I say, you don't need to agree with what your spouse wants. You just need to support them. You don't even need to believe in that. You just need to support them.
And it's very true. And it works. If you can find that way within yourself to support the other without loving that thing that he or she may love.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I don't want to stop you.
No, I was just going to say, I think, when we call awareness into ourselves, when we're in a tricky situation or something challenging, it really helps how we behave with others. Like, I think the important part to note is to take a breath and go, wait, what's my role in this here? And that really opens the door to better interaction.
Well, how you deal with conflict, it's actually what builds a bond of trust. When things are great, you don't really grow. You are enjoying, which is important and necessarily, but you grow and expand when there is conflict or, issues. And how you deal with that is what helps you build a bond of trust, because you say, no matter what, I can deal with this person. I trust them. So I think it's not even equally, it's more important how we treat each other in times of struggle and conflict than when things are great.
I would fully agree. And I would even add to that, like, it's one thing to do it once. But, when you're living with someone for 35 years and you're raising kids and you have your financial things and you have your appointments and your aging parents and all this life is thrown at you beyond just this nice little family that you're making, I would add to that, it's not a one-time thing. So if something keeps recurring, there's a great deal of work and reflection that can come from preempting it happening again. What I mean to say is, like, when we see something happening over and over and over again, we can actually spend time with ourselves to actually end that. No things will show up, but at least one problem solved, because now we know how to deal with each other when it comes to this issue, let's say. And it could be something like, I gave you $200 for groceries and now you're spending $250. And every week or every 2 weeks, it happens over and over again where maybe your spouse is saying, what are you doing? What do and it repeats like every week or every 2 weeks. It repeats that, like, no, put an end to it. How do you put an end to it? Either you stop overspending, he stops complaining about it, or you change.
I'm so glad you brought that example, because I was working with a woman and she was telling me that her husband found out that she was having sessions with me. Mm-hmm. And she was afraid that he would say, why are you spending money? And she said, he's always stressed about money. But in reality, there's no reason. Mm-hmm. We don't have a money problem. Regardless, he's usually stressed, especially now, this time of the year, the holidays, you spend more. So I told her, well, let's unpack this a little bit, okay? For a man to stress about money is normal, even if there's no issue, even if the money is there, because they are doing their job. Not only they are the providers, they have to watch the money. A man who worries about money believes, I am doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be the provider and watching and making sure we always have what we need. Now, you have two options, I said to her. You either tell him, why do you stress about money? We have plenty, we earn well. This is nonsense, right? Which actually what you're doing is you are eroding your trust, because now you're not being a teammate. Or you see this as an opportunity to team up with him. And if he's stressed about money, why don't you sit together and budget this time of the year and talk about what you're spending? Because if you don't, he feels that you're not a teammate, you don't understand him, and he's afraid it will get out of control. You might actually overspend because he thinks you're not aware. But if you actually sit, communicate, talk about the stress, talk about the expenses coming up, and whether you do a budget or not, but you bring the issue to the table. Now he feels seen, he feels understood, he's less stressed because he knows you are aware.
Yeah.
And now you have become a team, you have become a unity, and you're building together. So it's not for you to judge if his feeling is, just or not. He feels that way, use it as an opportunity to team up with him.
Absolutely. That is a little bit getting like underneath what you see as the conflict. It's getting underneath it. He's not seeing what happens to you when he worries about money. And thankfully, he doesn't have to hold that guard on where you're spending that, let's say. And then you see under him. And that's, I think, really the secret to what you would call a legendary marriage. It really is. Because then you're seeing that intimacy thing into me see. And when you reach that with another person, it really is divine. It really, really is divine. It's no passing thing. You know each other intimately and you understand each other. And then you know how to show up for each other and not only keep the peace, but like, who else will know you that way? Like, who else knows me the way my husband knows me? Nobody.
And sometimes people say, well, you know yourself better than anybody. I would sometimes disagree and say we have blind spots. And because this is the closest person to me, there is an unspoken contract that this person is going to show me my blind spots so I can be better. So there's almost a limit of how much I can work on myself when I'm alone or when I am married or in a relationship, but I don't let that person in. If I let that person in, this is an offering for me to even grow higher in consciousness, to work deeper on deeper issues, because that person is going to show that to me with kindness.
With kindness, where it's safe. I want to go off track a little bit because like I have a thought around this word complaining. And I've had to develop this thought around complaining because I do a lot of it. I am a complainer and my family members have shown me that. And thankfully, everything and everyone with great kindness. But because it was being shown to me, I then understood it's my job to look at it and reflect. Am I complaining? Am I complaining too much? Is it making sense? Is it annoying? Like I asked a million questions. And after I sat with this for a good long time, over a few sessions alone with myself, I then had to call my family members together and say, listen, I know this sounds like complaining to you, and I know that you may not enjoy it, but really I feel safe using you to unload and dump all this overwhelm or frustration that is in me. And then once I dump and let it go, I feel better. And it's never about another person, by the way. When I'm complaining, it's a frustration. Maybe I had a bad conversation with someone or a bad experience at the bank or someone cut me off at a red light. Like it's really over dumb things. But if I don't, then I carry it with me and it's like just stupid toxic energy. So I invite people when they're dumping or unloading something negative or toxic, what they're really doing is cleansing themselves and not complaining. I have to get
Okay,
it.
but listen, you helped me write this book.
Yeah.
Pillar number 2
Okay.
was all about respect.
Okay.
So we wrote there, if you want to talk to your spouse, whether you want to complain, you want to, spill what you have inside, is this a good time?
Right.
Do you do that?
Yeah.
Do you ask them? Do you say, I have the need to just dump?
I
Is
don't.
this a good time? And maybe that's why they say that.
I don't because with my kids for sure are just, it's never in that time. They just reflect back to me. But with my husband, like I complain a lot about my relationship with my mother, right? But I'm intuitively know with Nick when it's okay. So I don't really have that issue with him anymore. I think my kids are just learning about me now, but it's always like it takes about a minute and then it's like over. So now I just basically explain to them, I'm not complaining. I'm detoxifying and I'm using you as my sounding board, and we laugh. Like it somehow just works out. But I think also because I do now know how to let them know, oh, this is coming. Just give me my minute. It's just so much better for all of us. I'm so much nicer after I let all that toxicity out. And I'm never dumping it on them. It's just it's in the air.
You can tell them, imagine you open a garbage bag so I can put whatever I have to, then you tie it and throw it away.
I know. Yeah. You know what? That's what I should really do. Just go to another room, let it all out.
It's your coping mechanism. I just wonder, because sometimes when we complain, we are also programming ourselves to complain more. It
Well,
becomes a reaction. It's a reactive mode, not to feel whatever you're feeling. So you're seeking instant gratification, and I'm challenging you here
yeah.
just to see if, just to really think about it. Is me seeking instant gratification? Am I solving a problem, creating another problem? Not sure. Just put it out there for you to ponder, because sometimes, I actually caught myself doing that. The other day I was driving my youngest to school and he was tired. Okay. And he was, sleeping in the car. And I asked him, when did you go to bed? And he said, oh, I didn't go to bed late. So in my mind, right, I'm starting to prepare a sermon on, are you taking your vitamins? Are you sleeping enough? Are you, doing everything you need to do to have the level of energy you need? But I realize that he is far from being ready to listen to this right now. And the only reason that I do that is because I really have a hard time seeing him tired. It makes me feel like my child is struggling and I need to solve it. So if I were to start asking these questions or give him a sermon, basically, I'm doing it for me. He's not ready to hear it, but I am not willing to sit with my
Yeah.
anxiety of my child being sleepy and struggling. So I have to do something, but it's for me. So at that moment, I caught myself and I said, no, he didn't ask me, what can I do to not be tired? He doesn't look if I'm sensing like you sense your husband, if I'm sensing he's not ready to listen to me right now, that this is the last thing he wants to hear. So I'm just going to sit with my anxiety of seeing him struggling right now. And I'm not going to give this to him because he's not ready to receive it.
Yeah. So when it comes to situations like that, I do not dump at all. I do not. Unless, I'm caught off. Like, it's a rare thing that I do, because I've really learned the fine art of this being present with what's in front of me when it comes to relational issues. Or, listen, if my son is unhappy with his spouse at a certain moment, I never interfere or involve, because it's really none of my business. So whatever I'm thinking or feeling or upset about when it comes to other people's issues, and I think my kids would vouch for that, I'm very good at not interfering or trying to help too much or not helping enough. I read their cues very well. I do. The kind of thing I'm talking about is literally a 30-second, oh my God, that me off. Or, oh my God, the cashier was so mean. Or, would you believe it? They charged me too much for, like, it's a stupid thing. Or, I fell and I hurt my knee and I'm upset. And I just dump all the toxic energy around a stupid thing out. But I do it in front of my family members. And that's what they call complaining. And that's when I explained, I'm actually cleansing, and thank you for being there for me for literally max 90 seconds of me just spewing that toxic energy out of me. And then we're fine and we carry on. So it's seldom about them, really. I'm very good. As a matter of fact, Nick will come to me and go, am I allowed to say something here to the kids? Yeah, like, for anyone listening, my kids are very adult. I have a 25-year-old who is living on her own, and I have 2 married sons, and one is a parent already. So, like, they're very adult. It's not our place really to mix in with their lives.
No, but I love what Nick says. Do you want to hear what I have to say? Because he's actually testing what kind of conversation are we having.
Yeah.
Right. I just share that actually with a lot of couples that I work with, a TED Talk that exactly talks about that. And I share that also with the coaches. What kind of conversation are we having? Are we having an emotional conversation where all you want to do is just dump, right? Or complain, for the lack of a better word? Or are we having a conversation where you want my input and my advice, right?
Yeah.
So that's actually very important. Ellie does that too. When I come and I say, there's something I want to share. Is this a good time? He says, yes. And then he goes, okay, why are you sharing this with me? What do you need from me right now? Do you want me to be a soundboard, or do you want me to help you solve it?
So in the early years of marriage, it's very, very rare for partners to have that sensibility amongst themselves, and that ability to really, and the confidence to say, you know what? No, I can't do this now. Or no, that's not what I'm looking for. We're not good at saying no very easily. It's an art that we develop in our relationship. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because Nick wakes up very lively. He wakes up and he can have a whole conversation about all kinds of things. And, over the years, he's learned I'm not good to talk to in the morning. I'm like not the right person to come to, because I am not listening. I am pulling the blanket over my ears and covering them, because I'm not ready for real life yet, So, here are 2 people sharing space together and we're opposite. So, it does take refinement over the years, but that's like 2 partners willing to do the work.
And isn't that so worth it?
I feel very blessed. I feel very grateful. I do believe that it was divinely ordered that I marry Nick. specifically him, because I can see a lot of the growth that I've done in and a lot of the joy that I have comes from being a partner. It's pretty nice. I consider myself very, very lucky. I do.
Do your kids comment on that?
I don't, that's so interesting. Sometimes I think I want to ask them, like, what do you see in our marriage that you would want to like have for yourself and that you wouldn't, both, but we don't really go there with them. I think it's joy we're in a relationship now. She would be very happy to have those conversations with us, but not my boys.
Yeah, boys are less likely.
But I do think they respect what they see because they have a lot of friends and they're in other houses with people our age who raised their, parents who raised their friends. And I've heard over the years, like, our house feels pretty good, like we don't argue, we don't yell. I mean, it's been a pretty safe place for them to grow up in overall. I mean, yeah, did they need some therapy over the years? Absolutely. Does every person at some point need some therapy or coaching over the years? If you say no, fine, but I don't agree. I think everyone can use that. Someone, safe and not family, not friend to talk to. So yeah, they've all had that too.
Do you feel that this is the best legacy? Your marriage is the best legacy you leave to your children?
My marriage and my healing. I think my healing work, my journey, my commitment to being a better person to be around, whatever context that means to the people in my life, is my biggest, but it's not separate from my marriage. Well,
probably your marriage is a product of your commitment to yourself first. The first pillar is the me.
Yeah, well, there you go. Exactly. I did the me part for the most part. It's never over, but I'm feeling really good with the me part finally. And the us, the me, us, ours, and
you.
Me, ours.
So the order is me, you,
us,
our, and us.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So after, hey, anyone who's married 35 years and is still happy to be with their spouse, they're getting there.
We spent the weekend. We drove my mom to New Jersey. So it was 9 hours of drive. On the way there, my mom was with us in the back, but we were mainly talking, Ellie and I, because she doesn't hear well. So it's not easy to converse. We have to turn every time. We would have conversations, but not long ones. And of course, on the way back, we spent 9 hours together. So when we came back, we were like drunk. We were silly. We were tired. And I said, so what's with you today? And Ellie said, this is when you spend in 24 hours, 18 hours driving. He said, we listen to all the music, the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, the Latin, whatever you want.
Yeah.
And we really had a lot of time of quiet, and time that we were just looking from the window, and time we were talking, and time we were laughing. Ellie has a great sense of humor. Me too. We're very playful, the two of us. So we had a lot of those too. But, I don't think we'll be able to have so much fun together, so many hours in the car, maybe 20 years ago. It wouldn't be that so.
You would have felt trapped in such a close. Wait, let me not put words.
But I would feel pressure to talk when we were not talking. I was at peace on that hour that everybody was looking through the window or where you were driving. I was at peace. I think 20 years ago, I will have the need to talk all the time, because if we are not, there's something wrong.
Yes, exactly. I totally get that. Totally. Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like, sinking in, like just sinking into something that is comfortable. But yeah, I would say that I think it's just so important. That first pillar is actually the foundation for everything else, if I may say, because I know for sure that if I didn't take care of me in the ways that I figured out I needed to take care of me, I wouldn't be here in this marriage like this. I am definitely the harder person to live with. Nick is super easy. I know I am because I'm complex and I'm needy and I'm a little demanding and I'm a little controlling. Like in the kitchen, it's my kitchen. Everything has to be a certain way, It may seem like a silly little thing, but when you're sharing the kitchen and you decide everything has to be your way, maybe that's not so easy for your partner. So I know that in those ways, I am not the easiest person to live with. So it was very important for me to become easier to live with. And it also makes me much happier, to let go of certain, tough rules, whatever. Yeah, much happier.
Beautiful. Any final words you want to share?
It's really like 3 words. Just do the work, do your work. The rest will come. Just know what your work is. Figure that out. Don't hide it and don't bury it and don't put it aside and don't tell yourself you're fine if you're not. Like, just do your own work. And honestly, every relationship improves from there if you wanted to. Or, yeah, just that would be it.
I love it. Beautiful. I'll add to that. When you do your work, in more Kabbalistic words, you expand your vessel for light and blessings. But here's the thing. In a marriage, sometimes not both of you are going to be in sync when you're doing your work. But if you start expanding your container, you are automatically expanding the marriage, the aura of the couple, even if you're the only one doing the work. So just get started, and you're going to see that as going to have a ripple effect, not only, of course, on you, but you're also increasing that capacity to receive as a couple as well.
I wish I had said that myself, because that's exactly it. It really is.
Shari,
Thank you so much for letting me talk.
it's been delightful as always. It's always so much fun to have these discussions with you. Thank you so much. And thank you for being so instrumental in me writing this book this year. I wouldn't be able to do it without you.
Just before you close up shop, I just want to say, over the years, I've always heard it said that, certain people come into your life for a reason. And we talked about that a little bit. And it's such a blessing to be here in this limited kind of lifetime that I have in this body shape and form, and to have certain people, specifically you being one of them, in my life, because you are a guide. You guide me towards always the improvement I want to see in myself. And I get to do a lot of that through your help, just having you as a friend. So I did want to say that.
I really appreciate our friendship and you in my life too.
Thanks, Gabby.
Thank you, Shari. See you soon again.